This is going to be a tutorial on how to use the DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor with Premiere Pro. This is all possible thanks to CommandPost. A guy named Chris Hawking designed it, and it's a brilliant little program that allows you to remap your keyboards for different keystrokes. Right here we have a DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor. This particular speed editor has already been manipulated. You can see the in and out keys and the source timeline have been swapped. I actually got some keycaps and I was able to customize the keycaps. I kept stuff like Smart Insert and Overwrite and Append because I actually use those, but a bunch of these keys are replaced. You're able to pull keys out just like that and move them wherever you want on the keyboard or replace them. So here are the keys. Comes with a bunch of them, something like 75 keys or something, and they're called DSA blanks, but they pretty much almost match what's on the Resolve keyboard. I use Premiere primarily. I bought the speed editor because I like the jog wheel, and ironically, the jog wheel is the one thing that does not work with CommandPost. It'll time out after about 5 minutes. So I took the main jog wheel off and I replaced it with this little tiny one. This still works for about 5 minutes. It'll work in Resolve, but as you see, I've changed so many keys that it's not even worth using this in Resolve. This is my Premiere keyboard. Okay guys, now I'm going to show you how to use CommandPost. Now CommandPost has a bunch of tools at the top, keyboard, Resolve. The most important thing is you start out by choosing your application. So if you don't see your application here, hit add application, go through and find where the application is. Once you've done that, you click on a key and you see it says selected control, Smart Insert, Append. I'm going to do Smart Insert. So for me, the insert key is going to be F9. So I'm going to select, and at the top here, even though it says Premiere, I would ignore this for now. The things we care about are the scripts and the keyboard. Instead of pressing F9, I'm going to type F9 return. So now it says press action F9. Now if I go to long press, I map that to source window. So if you forget what you mapped it to, go back to Premiere and you're going to open up the keyboard shortcuts, which are right here, Option Command K, and then looking for source, and let's see what they call it, source monitor. It's Shift 2. So now we're going to do Shift 2. So I hit select and then make sure I'm on the keyboard and type Shift and 2. Return. So now F9 is my insert and Shift and 2 is my source window. So if I go back to Premiere, if I hold Smart Insert, it now selects my source window. And you're just going to go through and map each key. You can match what I have in my PNG, or you can do your own thing. Even though I moved quite a few of these keys, like full screen right now, I moved that key to here. It keeps the default layout, so the keys are in the same place. They might not match what you do if you start moving the keycaps around. And that's pretty much it. You're just going to map the whole keyboard. The complicated thing for me when I first started this was having a more complex action. Let's go to Append. Notice that I move the Append key here and I switch these two keys. So if I click this one, this is going to be my Append key. If you look at the screenshot, you'll see that. So first action is called Append Paste, and then the long is Source Append. These are snippets. These are multiple keyboard actions that I've entered so I can do 5 or 6 things at once. So I'll show you what Append Paste to second timeline does. edit snippet. That's all the stuff it does. Copy, F1 is switch to timeline, go to the end, then Command V is paste, and then go back to the timeline. So what this actually does is it's going to switch between two timelines when I'm in Pancake mode, and I'll show you later in the video how I do that. So now that we've done that, copy or paste any of this stuff. I already pasted it. So those are all the actions there. I'm going to create a new snippet. So let's say you're doing this from scratch. New. Let's call it append paste test. And then I'm going to just copy what I did here. So insert action. First thing I'm doing is copying, Command C. So I got to type in Command and C. Great. Now I'm going to put carriage return, insert action. Next thing I'm going to do is switch to timeline. So that is my F1 key. F1, enter. Okay, I'm going to hit a carriage return. Next thing I'm going to do is paste, Command V. So I'm going to insert action, type in Command and V, return. And the final thing I'm going to do is switch back to my other timeline. So I'm going to hit carriage return and hit F1, enter. Do a carriage return, insert action, F1, enter. So now all of these keyboard keystrokes, basically it copies, it switches timelines, it goes to the end of that timeline, it pastes, then it switches a timeline. And you can put whatever keystrokes you want. And that's the cool thing about all these snippets. So now, in order to find that, let's say instead of the press action, if you don't want it to be a keystroke, you hit select. I'm going to delete this because this is confusing you guys. This is the overall window. So I'm going to type in append, and I called it append paste test. So I click that. And now I've changed my keyboard to append paste text. If I go to edit snippet, there it is. So that's pretty much it. You're going to go back and forth between creating your snippets, which is multiple keystrokes, or you're just going to find a key and change it. You know, Command T for me is transition, Command Z is undo, Command Shift Z is redo. So that's the press action for this key, and that's the long press action for this key. You just go through the whole keyboard. This is going to be J. Long press is left. That is back one frame. K. L. And that's pretty much it. Now let's get to the fun stuff, and I'll show you how I map my keyboard. Now let me show you how I use the speed editor to edit. I've been editing for a very long time. I learned on Avid. Avid was all about trimming and, you know, selecting things on the keyboard and not using the mouse. So what you're about to see is pretty advanced. In the description, I'll leave links to both my keyboard shortcuts. That would be the CommandPost shortcuts and my shortcuts for Premiere. If you use them, just beware that my Premiere keyboard is not the default Premiere layout. It's actually the Resolve layout. And so if I go into Resolve and I go into Premiere, I have pretty much the same keyboard, but it's a Resolve keyboard. I'm going to start by showing you quadrants. You know, the upper, this middle, the right. There's, you know, 5 quadrants. We're going to ignore the jog wheel. It doesn't work in this program. So right here you're seeing source, overwrite, and append. I kept those, source, overwrite, and append. And then I'm going to have copy, paste, and paste attributes. Here we're going to have the undo. We're going to have the effects controls, similar to the inspector and resolve. Then we're going to have the audio levels. We're going to have delete and ripple delete, transitions. This is going to go full screen. You'll notice on the old Resolve keyboard setup, a lot of these have been moved, but I prefer to edit where I'm JKL here, in and out, and then I can actually reach without looking to delete and cut. These two keys, actually these 7 keys, I use more than anything. Snapping on and off, you know, all of these keys are going to have 2 modes, both clicking once and then clicking and holding. We have both source and timeline. Source is match frame. Trim in and out, that's sort of tops and tails. Trim start to playhead and trim end to playhead. Roll is actually going to be my trim mode. Right under it is going to be where I toggle the trim mode. These 2 keys are going to be where I either move 1 frame or 5 frames at a time, either in trim mode or just moving in selection mode. This is going to be go to previous clip, go to next clip, and go to the end of a clip. These are all going to be my source target selections. You know, more than anything, when you're editing, you want to figure out, okay, am I going to V3, V4 when you copy paste? You know, depending on what you've selected, you know, if the selection follows playhead, those are going to be really important. This key right here I set to loop. Video only and audio only I kept. So if I'm cutting in, you know, I use either video or audio only. Stop and play. And then, like I said earlier, these are J, K, and L, and in and out. So all these keys are going to have 2 functions. So we'll start up here, and I'll actually edit and show you how it's done. I'm going to avoid using the mouse. We'll be on the timeline here. If I use the mouse, it'll be usually to either show you how to do something. You're going to note that I have a Tourbox. The Tourbox sort of takes over all my controls for zooming in and out. I map it here, zooming in and out of timeline, moving left to right, you know, moving 1 frame at a time, going to the beginning and the end. That's all mapped on my Tourbox. But 90% of my work is done on the Resolve Speed Editor keyboard. I've set a few keys to get between the source, the timeline, and the program monitor. So the program monitor is where all the clips are, the source is going to be in the upper left, and the timeline is going to be in the upper right. So if I hold this down, note that I'm switching to the source view. So upper left, source view. If I click on timeline, notice the blue outline around the timeline. And then if I click on trim in and I hold, again, I'm holding, it's moving to my project panel. So those 3 keys I'm going to use a lot. On the Tourbox, I can toggle through clips, left and right. And then if I click and hold the middle button, which is the K button, JKL, that's going to load it in the source viewer. So first thing I'm going to do is, you know, just look through some of these clips really quick. I can hold down this to get back to the program monitor. Tourbox is moving through these. I select something, I'm going to hold that down, it loads it. I've already marked it in and out on this one, but I'll do it again just so you guys can see what's going on. Alright, out. Now, when you get used to this, you can do this without even looking, and that's awesome. So now that we have an in and an out in the source, we can either insert it, overwrite it, or append it. I have this key as insert. That would insert it. Note that if I hit timeline, it can go back to timeline, and then I'm playing the timeline. So that inserted it, but there was a gap. So I'm going to hit undo. This is undo, redo. So redo, you hold down, click it once for undo. So to go back to the home on my Tourbox, I have it set to left and right. That's the home key. I'm going to go back to source. Now, why did I not map source to go to the source window? Source is actually match frame, and I use that more than I use the source window. So I just hold this down for the source window. So we'll do, that was an insert. Here's an overwrite. Hit undo. Append. If I hold down append, it's not going to do anything. It just switched timelines. I'll go back up to the source. I map this so that when I hold append, you're copying and pasting any clip from the current timeline to the end of the timeline or to the end of a second timeline. If I hold this down, it's going to append the clip. So you see the second function as it holding down, it's append clip. So that's taking the clip from the source monitor and appending. Again, I'm holding this to load the clip in the source monitor. And then marking in, marking out, overwrite. So I have 3 clips right here. If I timeline, I'm going to my timeline. If I want to go between clips, I'm using right and left. If I want to go to the end of the clip, I press the middle button here. So I kind of made this so that my right hand is on the JKL keys and my left hand is either trimming or match framing, going to my timeline. I try to do this so that my right and my left hand are both on the editor. All right, let's say I want to append something. Use the append key. I can copy and paste any clip in this timeline to the end. So let's say I wanted to copy this clip. And all I have to do is hit the append key and it goes to the end. It's just duplicating it to the end of the sequence. If I hold down timeline, that's going to reveal the timeline in this project window. I'm going to right click, I'm going to duplicate, I'm going to call it Pancake. Double click it. I'm going to drag it down to the bottom. I'm going to select all and delete. And I'm going to go home. Okay. With the append key, I could select something up in this upper timeline and click the append key and it'll actually copy it to the second sequence. So that's the shot, and then if you go down here, that's the shot. And I could do it with this one, append. If you want to do clip append, you generally want to do that in one sequence. So that's the Pancake sequence. So let's pull up another shot. Let's go in, marking in, marking out. If I hit append right now, it's going to go to the end of this sequence. But if I hold append, there we go. Pretty cool, huh? All right, now let's talk about copy paste. If I want to copy this clip, and let's say I want to go, I'm copying it, and we'll paste it. If I press paste, it's going to do an overwrite edit. If you zoom in, you'll see, notice I'm using a Tourbox to zoom in. I'm going to undo that. Let's say I copy this and I want to put it way down here. Paste. It'll paste at the playhead. If I want to paste insert, I hold down this key. And notice that it's doubled up this. Now this key right here is going to be paste attributes. So let me show you what I mean. Let's say I use this key right here to go to the command controls, sort of like the inspector and resolve. So I just hit that once. That gets me up here. Let's say I want to zoom in. Let's say I want to copy that. I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to paste the attributes on a different clip. See, the scaling is 136. I'll go to this clip and I'll paste attributes. Do motion. Now it just zoomed it in. It's 136, just like it's matching that. So that's going to be paste attributes and remove attributes. So to remove, you hold the key. And then as far as enter goes, I mapped that to this key, this Tourbox key. So this little tiny button here. And so I can, I can even do a speed. If I hold this down right here, I can change it to 150. So I just changed the speed of that clip. Once again, going between clips, I can go back and forward, back, forward. My Tourbox, if I hit the left, it goes home, and end goes to the end. So that between these, I mean, it's so fast to do this stuff. Now you've seen the escape. I keep using that redo, just to clarify. If I delete here, if I hit undo, it comes back. Hold down, redo. Audio level. So if I hit audio levels, let's say I want to go up by, let me zoom in first here. Let's go right here. Audio levels. Let's go up to 7 decibels. Notice it just got louder. If I hold that, it marks the timeline. I'll undo that. If I'm selecting a clip and then press mark, it marks the clip. So it's doing a lot of the stuff the speed editor does. I'm just able to customize a bunch of stuff. Transition key, it's pretty obvious. I hit undo. Snapping, turning it on and off. It's right here. Look there. On, off. The light, I couldn't get the light to toggle on with the mode. So when it snaps, you just have to look and see if it's turned on. You'll notice link selection is right next to it. If I hold down snap, that turns that off. Hold it down, on again. If I want to cut, I can hit that. That does a cut across. If I want to hold and cut, you're actually not going to know this until, let's pretend like there were a bunch of tracks here. So let's say there's a bunch of tracks here, and that's only linked to that. If I hit cut, it's going to go across all tracks. If I hold cut, it's only going to go on the linked track. Does that make sense? So in, out, in, out. One thing I forgot to show you is copy. If you hold it down, it'll copy the in to out range. So let's go out. Let's say I want to copy just that area. I'm going to hit copy and hold. And then let's say I'm over here at the end and I hit paste. See, it pasted just the in to out. So paste, if you hold it down, it becomes paste only in to out, which I use all the time. So now we've gotten all these covered. The ins and outs we covered. I, J, K, L, If you don't know what JKL editing is, it's pretty, I mean, I use it way more than a jog wheel. If you hold these down, they'll go 1 frame at a time. Normally, on a normal keyboard, if you press the middle button, K, and then forward, it's going to go 1 frame at a time. This keyboard doesn't work that way, so I can't hold and press and move really fast. It'll just keep going into play mode, so that's a problem. It has something to do with the speed editor. It's not CommandPost, I don't think. If I want to clear end out, let me go to end out so you see what I'm saying. You know, clear in. Here, let me do a smaller one. Clear out, clear in. These two. I've also mapped this lower key to clear in out if I hold this button. So let me go undo, marking out. This button does the same as holding these two. These two, clear. We'll do undo. Clear and out. Okay. Now these keys again were go to previous and next cut. That's gonna be based on whatever track is selected. So let's say I'm on V3 up here. If I want to turn V3 off, I can hit 9, and that's going to toggle all the video tracks on or off. If I hold it, it's going to toggle the audio tracks on and off. So all video, off. All audio, off. You just have to remember to keep holding. So let's say I wanted video 1, I hit camera 1. And then when I go left and right, it's only going to stick to those video 1 tracks. If I wanted 2 and 3, I could turn it on that way. Right here is looped selection. Right here. If I toggle that on and off, that's also going to affect selection to playhead. If I hold this down, now when I'm dragging, nothing's happening. If I hold it down again, now its selection's following playhead. So again, hold it off, hit it on. I like to keep it on. Let's say I wanted to render an area. So I'll just make an area here. Oh, well, I'll jump over here. I marked this key right here, the trim out key. It's just, you know, right above the clear end out. That's mark end out. Holding. It's mark end out. Clear end out. Mark end out. If I wanted to render, I hold the video only button. There, it rendered that. If I want to toggle the audio scrubbing, I'm going to hold this button. So hold it and then it's off. Alright, so with these keys right here, again, 1, 2, 3, that's all your video track targets. If you hold it, that's audio track targets. Audio only and video only. Look right here. Video only, audio off. So if I wanted to do a video only cut, there we go. If I want to turn the video off and the audio on, if I want both. That's what these do. Alright, next we have source and timeline. Hold down this key here. That's going over here. Look at the blue. Timeline, blue. Hold that over here. Trim end out. That's your ripple your tops and tails, your ripple start to playhead, end to playhead. So if I hit this, boom, out, boom, boom, let's say out. Let's say I wanted to cut that right there. I could cut it. Let's go to the end. Oh, let's say I don't like the end of it. Out. If I want to use the trim mode, I hold down the roll key. That actually is the equivalent of trim mode. In Resolve, it's the T key. And then if I'm going to trim, I can either do it while holding the JKL keys. It's a little hard to do though. Usually I go one frame at a time. So that's 1 to the right, 1 to the left. If I hold it, it's 5 to the left, 5 to the right. If I want to toggle the trim mode, notice these little arrows. It's showing here too. Let's say I want to insert at the tail here. I'm just holding it to the right a little bit. And if I want to preview it, I just hit play. Now, clear into out, once again, I could either hold these two, but I prefer to hit this middle button. All right, so if I'm in trim mode here, if I hold that, that'll get me out of trim mode. So trim mode, hold, get me out of trim mode. This right here, again, it's toggling the trim mode, but if I hold this guy, if I want to disable a clip, I hold it. So that's turning it on, that's turning it off. Right here we've got insert, overwrite, and append. If I hold that, that's going into the source window. This is actually, if I hold this, this is replace. So let me pull up a clip here. So this is my clip down here. If I want to replace that, I can hold this key. So now it's that shot. With the Tourbox, I'm using that to zoom in and out here. This is moving left and right. This is moving frame by frame. This is pressing play and stop. So with the Tourbox, that's actually pretty good controls for your left hand as you're, pausing and playing with your right hand. So I don't usually, I just go frame by frame with my left hand, marking in, play, marking out. And that's pretty much how it works. Oh, right here, that's full frame viewer. If I press play, that's playing the whole thing. And if I want to loop into out, I can mark it in, mark it out, and I can hold this key. That's looping into out. I can also hit it again, and I'm playing it into out. Clip append. That's the last thing I want to talk about. I already did this, but I want to remind you guys what's going on here. If I want this clip at the end of this timeline automatically, I hold down the append key. So that's the clip here, and out, and that's the clip here. I'll pull up another one. Say I want that at the end, hit hold append. Now that's at the end. So hopefully that's everything you need to know. Once again, the jog wheel is not working. I've talked to Chris at CommandPost, and I'm hoping he can fix that. And but no, I tried to map this so it makes a lot of sense for me. All the insert overwrites, the copy pastes, the undos, the cut and the ripple delete and delete, all the JKL in and out, all the trim stuff is right here. These keys are to go to, next cut, previous cut, end of cut, or end of shot. But I have all this stuff written down. So when you look at the PNG image, you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about. And that's it. So enjoy.